I think I'm live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another one of my LinkedIn live events. Today's topic is going to be how to get your motivation back for your work. Before I begin, I'm just going to quickly see uh, if everything is working fine. And if you're someone who's attending my live event for the very first time, how they work is that I explain to you a topic in depth, and you can ask me as many questions as you want if you're watching this live, or if you're probably watching this as a recording, maybe on LinkedIn or on YouTube. Then you can just comment down the questions that you may have, or if you're in one of my free communities in WhatsApp. And by the way, if you're not, join it. I send audio coaching there every single day. I do free coachings there, as well as I release offers there that I don't release on LinkedIn. So there, if you're in my community, then you can just like shoot me a DM in WhatsApp itself, and I'd be happy to answer your questions. Okay, let's see if everything is fine. Okay, yeah, it's working well. All right. So, before we move towards how do we actually find our motivation back, let's first understand what exactly are we talking about. So, when I say that, um, you know, you don't feel motivation to do your work anymore, what do I really mean? So, what are the signs of it, and what is the essence of topic that we're talking about, right? So, essentially, when you start lacking motivation at work, or we also call that term, mentally checking out from work. So, basically, you're physically present, you're showing up for your work, but mentally you're somewhere else, or you're slowly losing interest in your work. Like you can see yourself that your interest is slowly going away. The energy that you want to put in your work is diminishing, and you just feel like you're somewhere else, right? And it may not be a very strong feeling from the get-go, but you can see yourself that that's slowly happening to you, right? Your energy levels may dip, you may start feeling like I have no interest in this anymore, or and we're gonna like study a few signs of that. We also call this quitting. It's a new term that has come up these days. So quiet quitting basically means that you haven't really outrightly quit your job yet, but you have slowly started you know quitting it mentally, right? For example, let's say when people break up in relationships, right? We usually say that before a breakup officially happens, the person has already broken up with you in their head, and after that they actually physically break up with you, right? Like a breakup is not someone who loves you one day and the second day they decide that okay, it's done. So similarly, when someone really quits their job, or they decide that okay, this is not for me, something happens before, right? And that is what we're actually talking about: quiet quitting, or losing your motivation for work, or mental checkout, or you can call whatever you want to that. But this has become a really big epidemic these days, because I tend to get a lot of people who come to me with problems around this topic, wherein they tell me that I don't really feel interested in my work anymore, or I feel like I don't know why I'm doing this, or I have to push myself, or other things like, and that is what I want to talk about. The first complaint that I get a lot is procrastination. I get a lot of people who tell me that, Priyanshi, I'm procrastinating. And something that I will tell you, that I've told multiple times to my clients and my community members, is that procrastination is not a real problem. Okay, as human beings, we are designed to take action, we are designed to work. So if you're putting off some work, there is a deeper misalignment that is happening. So usually the four reasons why we procrastinate is: first, the task is too hard; second, the task is too easy; third, the task is too complicated; or fourth, the task has too many moving pieces. Right? This is like, in short, if I had to give you a summary of why procrastination happens. So if you are procrastinating your work, it means something at a deeper level is going wrong, that you need to study, or that you need to work with a coach with, right? It's not real. You are not a procrastinator. Usually people procrastinate things that they don't have any interest in, or they find too hard, or they force themselves to do, right? So when you find yourself consistently procrastinating your work, it could be a sign of you mentally checking out, or you feeling that this work is not for me anymore. Or maybe you haven't come to an understanding that this job isn't for me, or this work isn't for me, but like, or maybe it's too difficult for you to accept it right now. But somewhere procrastination is a very big sign that that is the case. The second is lack of initiative. So you don't want to take initiative anymore, right? Like earlier, maybe you used to pitch ideas, earlier you wanted to work on things, you wanted to start up things, but now you just feel like I don't want to do anything about this, or you just feel tired around things, you just feel exhausted with all this, and you just want the day to end. You just like either look forward to weekends, or you look forward to holidays, or you just look forward to making enough money so that you don't enter that stage where you have to worry about it, right? So you stop taking initiative, you stop being creative, and like it is not that you don't want to, it's just that there is no energy from within, right? The next is you simply lack interest in your work. Like you find yourself daydreaming about things, you find yourself like disassociating, you're thinking about something else, you can't wait to get home. Or you, if you are, let's say you run a business, you can't wait to just shut down everything and just go on a vacation. So basically you just don't have any interest in what you're doing anymore. Every day feels like a drag. Every day feels like, okay, these are the tasks I'm supposed to do, let me just get done with it, right? Inherently you have no curiosity about your work. That is how I would define lack of interest. You are not curious about it, you're not interested in why am I doing it or what is happening. Again, the focus is just on getting done with it. The next is unexplained mental exhaustion. So this is a very quiet one that creeps up on people. What is unexplained mental exhaustion? For example, let's say your normal day is going about and suddenly you have an added task. Okay, a normal human being's reaction, who is doing an aligned career or who is walking an aligned career path, they may do that task either with excitement, or they may feel that, okay, this is one more task that I have to do, I will get it done. Or they may feel a little bit irritated that, okay, this has added to my day, right? But they will do it. For someone, when they're walking an unaligned career path, because these are the people who actually do the mental checkout from work, for them it will be a very big thing. They will get very irritated, or they will feel this unexplained mental exhaustion. Even though the task could be very simple, you just feel exhausted around it. The tasks are simple, you know that I can do it, you just don't want to do it, right? And you just feel tired all the time, you just feel exhausted, you may be unable to sleep at night, because again, right, everything that you're not resolving, everything that you are ignoring goes into your subconscious, and it starts to affect your sleep, it starts to affect your physical health, right? Everything that you're not working on. And that is why we say trauma lives in the body, right? This is not really a mindset problem, and we'll talk about it more. But it starts to affect you. Like you just feel exhausted all the time, you get very irritated very easily, and you feel like you get angry very easily, and people have to walk on eggshells around you. And this may also be affecting your personal life, where you just get irritated, where you feel irritated, where you feel like I just don't feel interested in other in anything. You don't understand why other people are so happy, because you yourself don't feel it, right? So ultimately there's this unexplained mental exhaustion. Even though if you really look at your schedule, you may find that, okay, it's not like I'm doing a lot of work, yet you're tired all the time, or you just don't want to do it, right? Then this also relates to physical exhaustion. You may feel tired all the time for no reason. You may feel like my body is hurting, my the head is hurting, this is hurting, that is hurting. Now if you're working a lot, that could be the case. But a very big reason of physical exhaustion is also because the feelings that you're ignoring, right? Because emotions is what? Energy in motion. Your emotions don't go anywhere, okay? If you decide to ignore it, they just go inside your body. And that is why people who say that I will take a vacation, I will feel better, and I will just take a few days off and I will feel better. You may feel better if the problem is fatigue for you. But if your problem is emotional fatigue, which means that you're not resolving deeper unhealed traumas, you're not doing your inner work, it'll come back and it'll get stored in your physical body. That is why people around 30s and 40s who have had a long history of childhood trauma and long history of unresolved issues, they start to develop serious health conditions that cannot be resolved, right? Because whatever you don't resolve on a mental level, it will affect you on a physical level. So you may also start to feel physical exhaustion quite a lot. You may feel lethargy, you may feel like I don't have energy anymore. You have gotten your vitals and body test done, and you find that there's nothing wrong. It is because it is your emotions, right? Emotions are what is causing you the issues. And when you don't work on it actively, of course it's going to affect you, of course it's going to make you feel like I don't know what's wrong with my body. And the next one is unable to upskill. So this is also a very interesting one. Usually when people feel that, okay, I will push through my demotivation, I will keep on going, everybody in the world is working like that, what tends to happen to such people is that initially they may be able to push, sure, right? But you have to understand that we live in a very competitive world, okay? After certain years of your career, the people who face the most amount of job insecurity or most amount of the brunt of economic slowdowns are the people who are actually not interested in what they're doing. Because when you're not interested in what you're doing, you cannot understand at the level of someone who's passionate about what they're doing. Because when someone is passionate about what they're doing, their focus is on another level. They spend more time doing their work, and as a result they become subject matter expert in it. But when you keep on pushing and pushing and pushing, you're unable to upskill after a point of time. You can't push anymore. In the initial years, sure you can, but after a while you can't. And that is why when you go with this mentality that I will just keep pushing, I will keep pretending that no, I like this work, or I will just get it done, it will come to a point where you won't be able to sustain this anymore, right? Because you are unable to upskill. Because upskilling doesn't just involve dragging things. Upskilling means that you are actually a subject matter expert. It means that your brain is sharp enough to answer the questions that are being asked. You are someone who becomes like an indispensable asset to your company. Or let's say if you're running a business, you are someone who's able to solve problems at the depth that other people cannot. And that will only happen when you are actually in an aligned career path. When you constantly feel exhausted, when you're disassociated from your work, that isn't going to happen. You will be at the like bottom level. You will not be a top tier professional in what in professional in whatever profession you are pursuing. Because after a point you can't drag, you can't push anymore. Somebody who's in your career field and who's actually passionate about what you both are doing, they will complete things in half the time. They will be able to move forward much faster, and they will be able to become subject matter expert. And that is why it is far easier to succeed in things you actually like versus in the things that you do not like. The illusion that we live in is that if I'm choosing a conventional career path, even if I hate it, it will somehow give me success. No, it will not. Okay, we live in an economy wherein you are paid for the problems you're solving. And you can't solve problems very well if you don't understand it very well. And you will not understand it very well because you cannot spend a lot of time, or you will not have focus for things that you actually don't like. Think about when you were in school, right? Think about the homework you may get done very fast of the subject that you actually liked versus the subject that you did not like. For example, let's say you loved maths and you hated social science. Tell me the amount of time you took to complete mathematics homework versus the time you took to complete social science homework, and you would have your answer. It's the same thing in your career. It's not any different. You cannot push, you cannot drag, and that is why this is a very real issue that you need to work on. Now, coming to why do we actually mentally check out? Now, another thing I wanted to know is that you can't hack your way out of your mixed up emotions. You can't hack your way out of this mental exhaustion that you feel. There is no hack for it. Okay, you actually have to understand why is this happening, because different people have different reasons why they feel like they don't want to work anymore. All of us are different people, right? So you first need to understand what are the reasons. So we are going to discuss a few of them today. These may apply to you, all of them may apply to you, only few of them may apply to you, or none of them may apply to you, because every human being is different. So your case could be very specific. So to actually get help around your specific issue, you can book a one-on-one coaching session with me where we sit down and we discuss your problem in depth, and we actually diagnose what is the reason, and then we come up with a path for you. Okay, before I move forward, I'm just going to quickly check if my internet is still working fine. I keep getting paranoid that it's not. Okay, we have a question. I'm going to answer this after like 15 minutes after I've covered this next topic, because I think if I cover this next topic, this question is going to get answered. Okay, I am live, so that's a good thing. All right, now why do we mentally check out? Like, what is the reason? Why is this happening? Why has this become an epidemic? Now, the very first point that I want to talk about is the most important point, and it is very, very relevant to a third world country like India. Okay, so just to give you some context, okay, if you really look at the history of your lineage as well as people around you, you will find that struggle and hustle and survival has been a part of it, right? Like collectively all of us have experienced partition trauma. Our lineage, like our great grandfathers have experienced partition trauma, and as a result of it, stress, hustle survival mode has been genetically decoded in us. And of course, even after that, if you have someone who has seen a lot of financial struggles, or your parents have seen a lot of financial struggles, that also involves, if you've experienced a lot of childhood trauma, you have seen broken families, you have seen a lot of generational trauma, and basically a lot of toxicity growing up. When that is the case, it means that you are a survivor by nature. Okay. Most of my clientele have been Indians, and what I've seen common is this, a survival mentality, right? Wanting to just get things done, or wanting to just get done with things, or wanting to do whatever it takes to just move forward. Now, the problem with this kind of mentality is that the primary emotion that you feel on a day to day basis, or you don't want to feel actually on a day to day basis, is fear, anxiety, and desperation. Okay. Now, when fear, anxiety, and desperation has been a part of you for a very long time, probably from childhood, or probably it's been passed down to you from your parents, they also felt that their entire life, and there has been a lot of struggle in your lineage, and as a result, you know in you too, what tends to happen is that your decisions are very scarcity driven. Your decisions do not come from a place of what I want to create in my life, right? And taking a step back and creating a vision. Your decisions come from a place of, how can I get out of this situation? How can I just solve this issue? How can I make more money? How can I get ahead of people? And again, right, our culture is rooted in a lot of scarcity, lot of competition, lot of comparison, looking down on each other, and not feeling safe in what you have, and constantly, like, we are battling with a lot of things, right? And it is very common with most Indians that I have seen, right? Because struggle has been a part of our lineage, right? And that is why, um, I am yet to meet a single Indian who hasn't gone through childhood trauma, to be very honest. Okay. So, because of this, you make decisions from a place of scarcity, right? You don't look at your career from a place of, how do I want to contribute to the world? What is it that I feel passionate about? And how can I develop that passion and convert it into something that I can create money out of? You come from a place of scarcity, fear. And how can that look like? It can look like, my friends have gone so far in life, or they're doing so well, let me also do what they're doing, right? So this is why we have a generation of people who have done engineering for no reason, and then they have done an MBA because they think that somehow it will get them a higher package, and some of them have gotten that, right? Some of them have gotten that, and their goal was just that. Their goal was just, let me just push through, right? I want to ignore all of my feelings, I will kill my hobbies, I will kill my interests, let me just pass those competitive exams, let me just go through this college, and let me just get this job. So your goal was just that, right? Now it could be from a place of, I need to prove myself to my family, I need to make a lot of money, I need to get out of my house, or I need to make as much money as I can so that I can pull my family out of poverty. It could be many things, but the point is, it's scarcity driven. There is a lot of fear in the choices that you have made. Now I'll tell you an interesting um, thing that happens when you are a scarcity driven person. Okay. So fear, anxiety, desperation, these are all low level emotions. Now what do you mean low level emotions? Think of like a thermometer. Okay. And low level emotions are the ones that are vibrating here, and high level emotions like joy, passion, happiness, satisfaction, contentment, they vibrate here, and then there are a range of emotions here. Low level emotions tend to suck the most energy out of you. Okay. And they tend to like create a lot of stress inside of you, so that your survival mode gets activated. Okay. And that is why people who take scarcity driven decisions early on in their career, which means, for example, I will take science even though I have no interest in it, I will do engineering even though I have no interest in it, I will, let's say, join a family business even though I don't want to, I will do engineering even though I don't want to, I will do medical even though I don't want to, I will become a software developer even though I don't want to. So the thought that what I want doesn't even come into your head, right? The only thought is, I need to just survive this, or I need to do whatever my parents have told me to. Because why, we see a lot of conditional love that tends to happen to these people who have grown up in um, environments like this, which means that your parents have trained you to believe that I will only love you when you have achieved XYZ, or I will only give you attention if you achieve XYZ. And on top of this, your parents putting their pain onto you, trauma dumping on you, making you feel like you are the ray of hope in their life, or that you will fulfill their dreams. So when there is so much childhood trauma that you're going around, you don't even have the space to think about what your passion is or what makes you feel happy. Now when you take decisions from that point, what will happen is initially you will be able to push, because fear has that wonderful quality. Initially you are able to push, you feel motivated, you feel like, okay, I will push through, I will wake, I will study all night, I will do whatever it takes to prepare for the interviews. Something really interesting happens after a few years of your career. You start to become extremely exhausted, you start to lose all interest in everything, and you come to a point where you start to feel that everything is meaningless, right? And this happens because everything that you gave up because of your unhealed childhood trauma, right? Because when there is so much trauma that you're carrying, there is no space for joy, there is no space for passion, there is no space for happiness. The only thing that you are, you know, moving towards is trying to escape from pain. And you are told that if you make more money, if you get a higher position, we will be able to escape it. So you will see a lot of Indians prepare for competitive exams, and you ask them why they're doing it. They will tell you, I'm doing it because I want to. But if you really look at the deeper reason, they will tell you, I'm doing it for my parents. If I do it, my parents will, be proud of me. If I do this, my parents will be happy. If I do this, I will finally have the chance to leave my home because they've grown up in toxic homes. So again, right, you're trying to escape from something, right? You are not moving towards a vision. It's all trauma motivated, it's all fear driven, all anxiety driven. Now initially you have pushed through, yes, I told you, right? It's a lower level emotion, fear. It sucks the most amount of energy out of you. So when you reach your mid 20s or probably late 20s or even early 30s, you come to a point where you realize that you have been living a lie, right? Like things start to occur to you, and you also start to look in the real world, and you find that just because you're not pursuing what you wanted, and just because you have gotten in the college you wanted or the job you wanted, doesn't mean that life gets easier somehow. Effort is required everywhere. But and when you see other people who are doing very well in the field that they love, you realize that this is something that you could not do, right? So you become disillusioned. Disillusion means what? The illusion starts to lift up. You start to realize a lot of things. You start to realize that things are not making sense anymore, and the fear that you used to use to motivate yourself does not motivate you anymore. The survival mechanism that you used to confuse as motivation now turns into burnout, exhaustion, and even depression and loneliness, right? And I'm telling you this because I deal with these cases on a day-to-day basis, right? And a common pattern I've seen is that people who come to this point, right, they wait for things to get so worse, right, so worse, that they've reached a point where they just cannot function anymore, or the fear has become so big that they can't sleep at night. So when you have used scarcity driven decisions, when you have used fear as a motivation, you will end up in a place like this where you will feel disassociated from everything. Because when it comes to lower level emotions like fear, anxiety, and desperation, they will make you feel like you're motivated, but you are not. You're just in survival mode, right? And there comes a point where your body itself becomes so stress hormone resistant that you start to develop diseases, right? You will see people dying from heart attacks so early these days. You will see people becoming pre-diabetic. You will see people having hair fall. You will see people, like, you will see the brightness of their faces are gone, because the stress hormone that you're swimming inside affects you, no? It is not that it's not going to affect you. So when you started your career from that place, you will reach a place like that, right? The solution to this is to actually heal the childhood trauma that is responsible for you to feel so insecure and so anxious, probably about money, stability, reputation, whatever it is, right? I don't know what theme you're carrying. So you need to heal that. Taking a vacation is not going to do anything. Pretending that it is okay is not going to do anything. Meditation is not going to do anything. You have to release the trauma that you're carrying, because you are, right, from probably your childhood, as well as it could be intergenerational in nature as well. Now coming to the next point, which is misalignment of your strength, passion, and the career path. Now, because of whatever I've mentioned in the first point, what tends to happen is that you end up in careers wherein your passion, strength, and the career path is not aligned. So for example, let's say, my passion is coaching. Okay, so and again, coaching is still a formal word. From early on, what I knew was that I want to help people feel better. That's the only thing I knew, right? And that's something that I was very passionate about. Second, the strength I had was that my EQ was always very high, and I obviously put a lot of work in developing that as well. And my career path, which is as a coach right now, demands both of them. And because all of this came together, I was able to experience early success in my career, right? But let's take another example. Let's say that I know that I want to I want to help people feel better, okay? And I have a high IQ. If not a high IQ, a good EQ, sorry, not IQ, EQ, emotional quotient. But I am very scared that I will not be able to make money in my career. I will not be able to have a stable career. So I look on the internet, I see everybody is pursuing tech. So let me go and let me let's say enroll into a data science course, or let me go into some sort of computer science engineering, basically trying to crack into the tech space. Let's say by pushing myself, and let's say I am decently intelligent also, I'm able to crack that, and I start my job, okay? And I see, oh my god, I'm getting a good package also. What will start to happen after a few months is I will start to feel disassociated. I will start to struggle in my job. Why? Because cracking the job is not enough, right? Just because you got through some exams, just because you got through your interview, it is not enough to actually be able to to actually get success in your career. You need to consistently upskill. And because tech was not naturally, like, I was not naturally, let's say, a great critical thinker, or maybe the skills that it takes to become good at software development, I was not good at it, right? My strength was naturally always EQ. So I have to put double the effort to get good at something that probably my colleague takes half the effort in. Why? Because he's good at it and I'm not. Similarly, let's say if that colleague comes into the field of coaching, he will take a lot of time doing something that I take half the time. Why? Because his strengths is naturally aligned to it. My strengths are not. This key thing people don't understand, and that is why they end up being mediocre in their career, and they also make mediocre money, and they experience mediocre success, right? So this illusion that I will take a conventional path, I will ignore my strength, and somehow it will make sense, it does not. Reality hits us after certain years. Like, for some of us it's after some months, for some of us it's some years, and we reach that stagnation, right? So when your passion, your strength, and your career path is not aligned, it's not going to work. For example, let's say your career involves you to deal with a lot of data, and you don't like that. You're going to feel stagnated. Your strength is not aligned with what your career asks of you, and you don't even feel passionate about it, let's say. Or even it could also happen that I feel passionate about something, right? But I'm not actually good at it. So let's say I'm very passionate about let's say consulting, okay? For the lack of better example, let's say I'm passionate about consulting. Like, I'm looking at consultants, I feel, oh my god, what a shiny world, I want to get there, right? And let's say it involves dealing with data, it involves learning a lot of software that I clearly don't have the strength to do, but I'm forcing myself. No, I will do it, I will do it, I will do it. And when I do that, obviously I'm going to be mediocre at it, right? Why? Because I don't my strength actually do not align with my passion. Or I wouldn't even call it passion, I would call it fascination. I'm fascinated by consulting, right? I don't actually have the core strength that is required to pursue it. So even if I pursue it, I will become mediocre at it at best. Now, the next thing, or the next reason why you may come to this lack of motivation at work could be hopelessness due to lack of confidence. Now, what tends to happen with some people is that somewhere, like there is a population that doesn't realize that all of this is happening to them, but there's also a population that does realize that whatever I'm doing, it's not giving me satisfaction. Whatever I'm doing, I can't carry on. I know that people will figure out that I'm not good at what I do, right? So let's say you are someone who has some level of awareness, but because you lack confidence in yourself, and why you lack confidence could be multiple reasons. Something that I've seen as a common thing is lack of self-esteem due to childhood trauma, and lack of self-belief due to childhood trauma, right? So it is always a very deeper reason. It is not a surface level thing. Now, because of lack of confidence, you may feel a lot of hopelessness, because Even if, let's say, I'm able to figure out what my problem is, and let's say I'm able to even figure out the solution, but I don't have the faith in me that I will actually be able to be good at it, so I will not take any action. And the more and more I see myself not taking any action towards the path that I can walk, or at least I have an idea how to walk, I will start to lose more and more respect for myself, and I will become more and more hopeless about my own life. So hopelessness is also a very big reason why you lose motivation at work. And hopelessness, why? Because you lack confidence, you lack self belief. You know, a person who lacks self confidence will not be able to even walk on the path if he is told step by step how to walk on it. And someone who has confidence will be able to figure out a path even if there is none right now. That's what that's the imperative difference between people who have faith in themselves and the people who do not. So when you underestimate your self belief, believe me that you are letting go of a big leverage, right? When you have self belief, you'll be able to figure out most things in life. When you lack self belief, you will not be able to spot even obvious things. Now, coming to the last point is, your expectations of what you expected from your work does not match reality. And this is one of my favorite points, because I see a lot of people choosing career decisions by looking at social media, by looking at the relatives opinion, by taking advice from their parents. And why I never recommend taking advice from your parents is because they're from a different generation. Probably they're carrying their own traumas, that they themselves are not healed. How can you take advice from them? You can't. Your parents love you, they want great things for you, but they are not credible people to take advice from. So, for example, people who like go for MBA. So I see a lot of people who go for an MBA or higher master's degrees, even if it is not an MBA, purely because they think somehow things will work out. Somehow I will switch to a better package. Somehow, I will work in a fancy corporate building and I will have this fancy ass job and stuff like that. They don't actually understand that that is not how the job market works. Or I will prepare for UPSC, I will prepare for some government exams because I believe that once I get it, life will be settled. So there is this like really, fantasized world people have in their head. They expect it. They don't actually realize the reality of things. Let's say by some hook or crook, you're able to crack a top college for your MBA. You go there and you realize, oh, this was just the first step. There are 100 more steps I have to take. And you realize, okay, I'm not fit for it, or I don't actually want to do it. Expectations don't match reality. Or let's say even then somehow you're able to push through, you're able to get a great job that's paying you well. You realize, okay, this is not the end. This is where it actually starts. I have to consistently upskill. So when you glamorize something in your head, right, and you realize that, okay, this is not matching the reality, again hopelessness comes in. You start to feel disillusioned. You also start to feel like my life is a lie. You start to feel like I'm living an inauthentic life. And that's when you start to live for the weekends. So when your expectations do not match the reality of things, and that often happens, and there are two reasons for it. One is obviously all your goals are trauma motivated, scarcity driven. And the thing with scarcity driven people is that they don't look at the reality of things. Why? Because everything to them is a test of their self esteem. Everything. So when everything is a test of your self esteem, you stop being objective and rational. And when you stop being objective and rational, every decision you make from a place of lot of emotion, right? Because everything is about a test of self esteem for you, because you don't feel good about yourself from inherently you don't feel worthy, right? Another path, or another part of this discussion is that maybe you were aware of everything, um, but when you actually got into the work that you're doing, you realize that, okay, things are a lot different than what I thought it was. And that's also a very valid thing. And when that happens, again, you have two choices, right? One is you actually develop the confidence and you actually develop a strategic career path for yourself, or you lose hope. Usually people pick the latter because, again, we don't understand that we need guidance at different aspects, and at different stages of our life, right? The same friends who are working jobs that they themselves don't like, or your family members who themselves do not know enough about career or how to choose a aligned career, cannot give you advices, right? Because it doesn't work. So when it comes to a point like that, you have to realize that this is a very real problem. No, it will not go away just because you close your eyes. No, it will not go away just because you go on a vacation. No, it will not go away just because you meditate. It will only go away when you solve the problem. And the problem is that there is a deeper reason. And I've spoken about a few reasons. I don't know what your reason is, right? Probably you can pick one. You need to solve that issue. You need to solve the issue, only then it will go away. Ignoring it will not take it away, right? It will just compound. Now, coming back to how to actually bring back the motivation, which is the last part of our conversation today, I'm just going to quickly see if we have any questions so far. Um, okay, so I have two questions. One is, how can manage if don't have work to utilize time in office and stay motivated in office time? So I am guessing what you're trying to ask is, how do you manage if you don't actually have work to utilize time? I would say, if that is the case that you have, then probably you are being underutilized at work. And something that you can do is, you can actually take initiative to ask for more work at your workplace. Now, if there is not enough work being given to you, there could be multiple reasons. One is, maybe your company actually doesn't have a lot of projects. Maybe you do not possess the skill set, or maybe people in your company do not look at you as someone who can handle things. There could be multiple reasons. So I would say, figure out what it is. So I would, if I were at your place, I would test different theories, right? First, I would start by asking for more work. If I'm not getting more work, I would actually talk to my managers and talk about what is the reason we are not getting enough work, or what is the reason I'm being underutilized. And if I don't get a satisfactory answer, then I would try to spend more time to try to figure out, is this a situation that's happening to me, or it's happening to everyone? Because then it would tell me if it is a personal issue with me, or it is a professional thing. And if all the things check out and I realize that, okay, it's not a personal issue, then I would frankly look for a switch. And if it is a personal issue, maybe other people are not experiencing this, then I would talk to people and get feedback. Why is it happening to me? Is it because I am not skilled enough? Is it because I don't have enough confidence? Is it because I don't have a great rapport at work? What is the case, right? The second question I have is, could you please explain what exactly is intergenerational trauma? Does it pass through genes or DNA? Yes, it is. So intergenerational trauma, I can explain to you in two ways. Okay, one is the biological part, and another one is the psychospiritual part. Okay, the biological part is that everything that your parents have experienced, right, it has gotten decoded into the genes. And as a result, when you are born with their genes, right? So it gets decoded into your genes too. So for example, let's say your father experienced a lot of financial stress in his life, so as a result, anxiety has become a part of him. So there's a very high chance that you're also going to experience anxiety around financial stress, even though you may not have financial problems. That's the interesting part, right? Similarly, let's say your mother experienced, let's say, a lot of anxiety because of, let's say, people pleasing, right? So as a result of it, again, right, it passes down to you. So again, it gets decoded into your genes. Or let's say your mother experienced postpartum depression. You were very young, you had no idea, and now you're also experiencing depression, right? And you are thinking, okay, everything is going well in my life, why am I experiencing depression? Well, because you have the genetic predisposition for it, right? Depression was a big part of your system, right? That's the biological part of it. Now I'm going to tell you the psychospiritual part of it. The psychospiritual part is that there is a family system that you have. Okay, there is a family system, and in your family system, stories and traumas gets passed down. So for example, let's say there was always some sort of anxiety around finances in your family, right? And you always saw your parents cut corners. So that intergenerational trauma, that theme of cutting corners, that theme of not putting yourself first, also passes down to you. So now, even though you want to invest in yourself, in your healing, in your inner work, maybe in your health, you're unable to do that. And even though you may have the means to, but it just comes so automatically to you, right? You also ignored your health all your life, even though you didn't have to. Why? Intergenerational trauma thing, something that is passing down from generation to generation, right? So that is what we call intergenerational trauma. I've spoken about it a little bit more in my free bootcamp called Healing Childhood Trauma. You can find that bootcamp in the featured section of my profile. And if you actually want to work on it, the best way is to book a one-on-one session with me. Okay. Do we have more questions? Okay, I don't think we have more questions, so I'll just move to the last part, which is how to actually bring back the motivation. All right. Now, the first thing I want you to understand is that motivation is something that cannot be consistent, and motivation is like a high, you can't feel it every day. So, what we really want to aim in our career is to feel consistent pull towards our work. So, when we say motivation, right, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to push, right? I'm trying to push because somewhere I don't feel the pull. And my job is to design a career where my career pulls me. And when does something pull you? When you have a natural interest in it, and when you are not coming from a place of mixed up emotions, unhealed trauma, and just a lot of mental blocks, right? So our job is to create a career path where we feel pulled by it, and that happens through multiple things. The very first thing is you need to actually work on the lower level emotions that you're experiencing, and you need to work on it from the root cause. What I've usually found is that a lot of people experience consistent lower level emotions, like consistent anxiety, consistent fear around money, consistent fear around losing the job, consistent fear around people pleasing, and consistent fear around fear of failure, right? And they they tend to deal with it by through coping mechanisms, right? So I will deal with fear of failure by putting in more hours. I will deal with people pleasing by constantly pleasing people around me, and not forming boundaries. If I have fear around money, I will deal with it by constantly hoarding money, or um, like constantly switching jobs, and not really understanding my lower level emotions. And the thing is that when you don't understand and heal them from root cause, and you can only heal them by releasing trauma from your body, okay? Talking isn't going to work. Like using coping mechanisms, disassociating isn't going to work. And some interesting thing people also do is addictions. People who experience consistently lower emotions, like fear, anxiety is a part of you, stress is a part of you. Now you are not healing it, stress is not going away, so what do? You go into addictions. Smoking, drinking, um, gambling, that's also an addiction. So a lot of people fall into addictions to cope with the internal stress, because you don't know how to deal with it, right? It's in the body. So to not go into unhealthy coping mechanisms, actually do trauma work so that you can release it. I do this with my clients all the time. So if you are someone who needs help, you can book a one-on-one session with me by DMing me coaching. Now, the second thing is you need to actually rediscover your true interests. Now, this is something that will happen after you have done trauma healing. What tends to happen to people is that they try to do the second step first. So, for example, I am scared of failure. I am scared that I will not be able to make enough money. I am scared that people will look down on me if I pursue my passion, right? I'm not dealing with those emotions. I'm not doing trauma work. And I directly jump to what are my passions. Even if I'm able to figure out my passion, I will never pursue it. Why? Because the pull of the trauma is so strong. Yeah. My fears are so strong. It's keeping me stuck. So I will not be able to move forward. So you can't skip the healing part. You can't skip the trauma resolution part. Because if you don't resolve it, you will not be able to move forward only. It will all of that will be just useless information. So always remember, information is not transformation. So for example, you're consuming this live event right now, right? This is information. You know how to, you know the path you need to take. You haven't actually healed. So you can read books after books, you can consume podcast after podcast, you can read things after one or the other. But the point is to actually release the trauma from your body, and that only happens through trauma healing coaching, right? And when you do that, that is when you actually when you then you actually have to rediscover your true interests, because the whole problem started because you weren't pursuing the career path that actually interested you. The next thing, and the next point, and a very important one, is you have to take yourself seriously. I have often found that people don't even want to accept what their passions are. They start laughing it off. I have seen people who, like I was once talking to someone, and she told me that Rianshi, I want to be a fashion designer, and she told it in a very hesitating tone, and she kind of laughed off. And I asked her that, do you think it's funny? Like, why did you laugh about it? And she told me that, oh, it's not like it's ever going to happen. Like, come on. And I said, why not? You are so used to not putting yourself first that you make fun of your own dreams. And that's not cool. Okay, that's not cool at all. Take yourself seriously, take your happiness seriously, take your interest seriously. Because when you don't, nothing is going to happen. You want other people's validation, but that's not going to happen. No, first your dreams need your validation, your seriousness. So please do not make fun of your own dreams, do not make fun of your own passions, do not laugh them off. It's not funny. Your happiness is important, you are important, what you want is important. And the last part is work on your confidence and self-esteem, because if you don't work on it, even if you figure out your passions, you won't be able to pursue it, right? And how do you actually work on it? Do your deep inner work. Now, that is it from my side today. Thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions about this particular topic, again, as I said, feel free to comment down and I will be happy to reply to them. And if you are someone who actually is serious about working on yourself and you want to work on this specific issue where you feel disassociated from work or you feel demotivated and you need help in figuring out what's your right career path and you want to develop the confidence to pursue that path, then I'm the right coach for you. You can book a session with me, or you can write to me about your issue, and then we can see if this is something that would be a great fit for both of us to work together. Thank you so much for joining, and I will see you for the next live event coming week. Bye bye.